What's the most fucked up thing you've done for money? NSFW. Waking up way too early in the morning to go to a place I hate. Whipped my tit out and electrocuted my nipple on an electric fence for $50. I went to gym class in my underwear. Capital I. Almost made it through without getting caught by the teacher. Edit. I made $30. I sold a picture of my girlfriend's feet for $130 to one of her ex-coworkers. I asked her first. Of course. But it still felt questionable. Opened a pack of UGR cards. Saw they sucked. Shoddily put the pack back together and sold it to my buddy at cost, claiming it ripped in my pocket. Sorry, Greg. Elementary school licked the janitor's mop for $2.35. Thanks for the silver. And no, it's not a euphemism. It did because that's how much 2 slices of pizza cost in the cafetorium. I'm a 25-year male. Had a 60-ish guy pay me $150 cash to help him cook dinner and watch a hockey game together. Except naked the whole time. I have never been more scared for my D than when making chicken parm naked. Surgically implanting an neodymium magnet in someone's finger so they could sense magnetic fields. Let a crawdad pinch my nipple. Ducker was far stronger than I thought and ended up drawing blood. I essentially had my nipple pierced for $1. I used to give myself paper cuts for money in high school. Earlobe, eyelid, top or bottom, finger webbing, etc. People paid way too much for that. Answered a Craigslist ad to kick a guy in the balls and walk on him for $160. Like the easy gig and the money. Made about $10k doing that afterwards and went to Europe for 2 months. Someone left an envelope full of money in a booth of one of the tables at a restaurant I worked at. I didn't even think twice about it at the time. Just pocketed it for rent. Bothers me to this day that I didn't make an effort to return it to its rightful owner. Not me. But a friend of mine accepted £300 for 6. Despite being into degrading 6. Hence accepting this. She really had no need for the money. She was so unaroused by the guy that they couldn't get his D inside her. Dry like the Sahara. So she wanked him off. No one came out of that experience well. I spent 5 years in China teaching ESL. In addition to the school I worked for, I took private students as well. One was a successful but bored plastic surgeon. 90% of his business was the same 3 surgeries. So he wanted to learn English to break up the tedium. He would call me at random times with little or no notice and ask if I wanted to come over and give him a lesson. So one night he called me to come to his office. Very normal. But when I got there, the nurse was giving me booties and a hairnet and telling me to scrub my hands. Before I knew it, I was in the operating room giving him an English lesson while he performed a nose job. I do not. I barely made it through. The surgery channel makes me lightheaded. And I was catching the live show. Pretty much scarred for life now. Edit. He wasn't performing surgery on me. It was someone else's nose job. I was just an observer. It was a violation of like all known procedures of sterility and cleanliness in the OR. 2. China is basically the Wild West. I sold a bag of my fesses online. Frozen and vacuum sealed it and sent it in a flat package. Made $14 off it. Once I sold my own blood to local blood bank to buy gas to drive 2 hours to see my ex-girlfriend and win her back, who then cancelled. I was paid $3 to eat a lemon scented wet nap. It was in high school. And I'm not proud. Also, I quickly discovered that lemon scented did not translate to lemon flavored. I sold an item from a VerQuest. Bone clasped girdle. Ike. From Draculian Plane of Fear. I really wanted to keep the item. But I also really wanted $450 to be able to cover my rent. A friend of mine who is now a Marine wanted to punch me in the face as hard as he could. So of course I said no, but then we agreed on the stomach for $30. It stung like a bitch, but not enough to stop him from doing it again for another 10. Barely made rent and hadn't eaten in 3 days. Was a rough post-breakup year for me. Found an ad on Craigslist for some guy that was willing to pay someone to lock him in a cage and pee on him. $50 later I had enough cheap noodles and sriracha to not go hungry for a while. I was a waiter at a restaurant with a prep line that had mayo on it. There was only one dish that used mayo that no one ordered, so this mayo would sit out all day and get this foul yellow skin. I bet a buddy $100 to eat the skin right before the shift started. I spooned off the whole bucket myself and it was a heaping scoop. He powered through it, but not long after he was absolutely green. We are still friends. Sucked D, took D, touched D. I let my brother run over my foot for a can of ravioli. I went to a place that charged me $100,000 in order to work at a job that pays me $20,000. I drank a cereal bowl full of grease scraped off the top of a meatball stew for $3.67. I didn't eat right for 4 days. Steal porno mags from the corner store by my house and then sell them to horny kids at my middle school. This was around 1998 to 1999 before everyone had smartphones and high-speed internet. Stole from family. Pawned everything I had. Helped a dude shake down his knocks who owed him money and drove him all over town until he threw a handful of drugs at me and laughed as I scrambled to pick him up. Yeah, that was like 8 years ago and life is much better now off the drugs. When I was about 17 I got offered £500 quid to rob my dealer's weed supply. I did. And then I spent the next 6 months sitting myself that if he ever found out it was me he'd probably hunt me down and gut me like a fish. But the guy kept it in a massive ducking backpack in his shed. I mean, come on dude. It was just so easy. To explain the economics of this, it was probably 30-40 ounces of weed in that bag. So thousands worth. Drunk toilet water in the nude for cash on a webcam. I beat up a guy to get $1,000 bucks for a girl I knew. She gave me $200 of it. I used to sell random nudes I found online. Had to save up for an MP3 somehow. I sold the rights to YouTube videos I didn't even own or make to some Canadian company for $900. Had a strictly heterosexual 3-way with another dude and a girl for $40. Can't say I regret it either. I stuck my tongue to a pole in the middle of a northern Minnesotan winter for $5 that was never paid. I used to know a couple who ran an adult baby nursery. Was paid £25 an hour to dress up in cute, frilly outfits and spend time with adult men who wanted to be treated like babies. At one point I spent an hour watching Thunderbirds episodes with a client. That was all he wanted to do. I personally don't consider it ducked up, but I'm sure some people reading this won't know how to feel about it. I was a cashier. Karen is real, and she wants to talk to your manager. A dude begged me to finger my ass for $150. Don't regret it at all. Unclogged a garage drain with a cumulative 20 years of sludge and filth blocking it. Gag. Was a stripper. Had a regular client pay me to drink then have me ask him for permission to piss. I have overactive bladder syndrome, so this often resulted in me pissing myself. He always tipped more and paid for a new outfit for me when that happened. When I was a kid, I filmed my neighbors having sex to sell copies of the tapes to other kids at school. They had a big bay window, and if I sat on my roof I could see right in. They thought they had privacy on that side of the house since we were the only nearby neighbors and there was a large cedar hedge between the houses, up on an embankment. But sitting up on the roof I could see right in. No problem. When I told kids at school about it, one kid stole his parents' video camera and some tapes and then we split the profits from selling the tapes. Pretty good money for the time. $10 per copy. But yeah, pretty ducked up when I think about it. Honestly, it wasn't really that bad. Call me boring. But the most I made was $100 when someone in high school paid me to write their final paper. It wasn't even a hard paper to do. I guess she was just lazy. Anyway, I made her pay me half up front and half after she got a passing grade. Anyway, word got around and I ended up being paid to do small things like finish people's homework or write papers. Someone even paid me $50 to change the answers on his test to get at least a C but no more than a B. I used to help one of our teachers grade papers and tests. They were actually pretty secretive about it and I'm glad no adults found out because I would have been in a lot of trouble. I did a stint on a FPSO. FPSO equals floating Production, storage and offloading. Basically a big ass boat that they use for oil production. Except it stores the oil on boat. Anyways, the ship was so crowded for commissioning that every morning and evening I got to ride this glorified birdcage into a smaller boat that I called the Vomit Comet, because the motion was nasty and was pretty puke filled. My favorite part, besides the questionable food, was the prison-like atmosphere. Like once the weather was really bad, so we sailed to a small international port which was also a UN refugee holding center. And we walked around the parking lots for like 3 hours and were super happy. Oh. And the bloody rags all over the hallway. Good times. Gambled most of my life savings. My girlfriend sold panties to a man for $250 as long as he could see her take them off in front of him. We were hard up for money, so I'd drive her there and keep an eye on her. Then one day we had sex in front of him for $400. He complimented the size of my D and then never emailed again. I think I destroyed the fantasy for him. I sold dirt online. Authentic Louisiana voodoo soil, to be exact. The listing on eBay was literally just me talking about how I live in La. And the dirt would be from my backyard and would possibly contain anything from grass to bugs, etc. Sold 2 pounds of it to 2 different buyers for about $40 total. Turns out there are dirt collectors in the world and they like to win auctions. How'd thunk it? Was at the pub playing poker. I lost early. Nothing unusual. However, I was standing behind a friend when I noticed a 20 on the floor beside him. I knew it wasn't his. He's poorer than me. He also pays my bills. That's a different issue. I did the whole throw your foot on it to cover it. Drag it closer, casually drop wallet so nobody suspects anything. Success. Not my finest moment. But $20 is $20.